Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. So the U.S.-China meeting happened yesterday, and it went worse than I was expecting it to go. There are, U.S. corporate media, of course, is saying the Biden administration, Blinken, came out swinging against China, and a lot of the media is not reporting what China's response was. What really happened, I'm not going to link to the video here, you can look that up. I don't want to take the risk of copyright infringement, but Blinken came out at the very beginning of the meeting throwing accusations, wild accusations against China. And China, in response, made a very diplomatic response, but basically told Blinken that the U.S. does not have the right to dictate to other countries. Other countries have rights as well. And the U.S. has been infringing on those rights of other nations, the sovereignty of other countries, for at least the last 70 years. And basically, the whole world has gotten tired of it. All in one day, China, the Chinese representative told Blinken that, this is not going further. That's basically what he said in a diplomatic manner. You look at the response, at the behavior of the U.S. government consistently. And we are the bullies in the schoolyard. Even worse than that, we are serial killers. Now, on the same day that this occurred, Russia recalled their ambassador to the United States over Biden calling Putin a killer. And if you look up Putin's response to this, again, his response was entirely diplomatic. It was nothing like the U.S., Biden specifically. That behavior is inexcusable. When Biden talks about diplomacy, there is no diplomacy here. Calling Putin a killer, throwing accusations against, and unproven accusations against Russia, against China. These allegations count for nothing. You can throw allegations, you can indict somebody to show up in court. Okay, fine. If the U.S. has grievances, then let them be litigated in international court. Show the evidence. Show the evidence. That never happens. Back when the Trump administration met with the North Korean delegation, the North Koreans walked away from this. The North Koreans walked away from this, calling the Biden contingency thugs. Of course, that included John Bolton. Everything that the Trump administration was trying to do was threats. It was all bullying. Well, recently, on top of all of this, there has been a delegation, a group that has formed in the United Nations. Let me go to some of that. Okay. All right, so a group of friends in defense of the Charter of the United Nations. And what they are saying is that the U.S. has violated the UN Charter for decades. For, like I said, for at least the last 70 years. Let's read. This is from the UN Charter. All right? Article 1, Part 1. To maintain the purpose of the United Nations, to maintain international peace and security, and to that end, to take effective collective measures for the prevention and removal of threats to the peace, and for the suppression of acts of aggression or other breaches of the peace, and to bring about by peaceful means and in conformity with the principles of justice and international law, adjustment or settlement of international disputes or situations which might lead to a breach of the peace. Part 2, to develop friendly relations among nations based on respect for the principle of equal rights and self-determination of peoples, and to take other appropriate measures to strengthen universal peace. Part 3, to achieve international cooperation in solving international problems of an economic, social, cultural, or humanitarian character, and in promoting and encouraging respect for human rights and for fundamental freedoms for all, without distinction as to race, sex, language, or religion. Article 2, this is where the biggest grievance with this group of nations is. Part 2, the organization is based on the principle of the sovereign equality of all its members. The U.S. does not respect sovereignty of other nations at all. All members shall settle their international disputes by peaceful means in such a manner that international peace and security and justice are not endangered. All members shall refrain in their international relations from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state, or in any other manner inconsistent with the purposes of the United Nations. So it's very clear the U.S. has violated the UN Charter. In addition to, I have said before that we violate the laws of war which were established at The Hague in 1907 and still are valid. All right? This is a list, a small list of countries in which the United States has directly and indirectly taken military action against these countries. Korea, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Philippines, Serbia, Honduras, Nicaragua, Guatemala, Iraq, Libya, Syria, Somalia, Yemen, Panama, Chile, Cuba, Colombia, Iran. That is a short list. That's not all inclusive. That's just what I could come up with off the top of my head. That doesn't even count how many countries we hold economic sanctions on and trade limitations. That when you account for all of these countries and throw in sanctions, the U.S. is responsible for the loss of hundreds of millions of lives and the damage to hundreds of millions, possibly billions more lives. That's in the course of my lifetime. But since the founding of the United Nations, it's even more. And now here is the diplomacy of the Biden administration calling Putin a killer and threatening China, throwing all these accusations. This is not diplomacy. Diplomacy is sitting down and talking calmly and, bringing up concerns and coming to arrangements, diplomatic, bilateral, multilateral agreements to solve these things. The purpose of the United Nations is for solving problems between countries, and we consistently, absolutely refuse to actually take part in that process. The countries that have signed on to this agreement account for a huge portion of the global population. The bloc of nations includes Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, Algeria, Angola, Belarus, Bolivia, Cambodia, Cuba, Eritrea, Laos, Nicaragua, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Syria, Venezuela, and the Palestinians. I expect the number of nations in that bloc to grow, especially with our current actions, increasing our military presence along the Russian border and in the South China Sea, where we have no business, no right. If there are international, multinational disagreements, that is for those countries to solve. We have no place in it, except as an equal member of the United Nations. We have no business taking any kind of military or economic actions against other countries, except where it involves our direct interests. I can't wait to see what is going to happen from here. But right now, the U.S. relationship with virtually all countries is collapsing right before our eyes. And this is not going to come without major consequences. All right, so share this video. Talk about these subjects. If you can, please donate $1 a month to help expand the channel. I'll catch you in the next one.